Let's get a little recording going.
Tuesday's tea. What's in your brew? Tuesday's tea. What's in your brew? Tuesday's tea. What's in your brew? Tuesday's tea. What's in your brew?
Hey everybody, we are
Tuesday's
officially
tea.
live.
What's
We
in
are
your
officially
brew?
live here at the
Tuesday's
Sanctuary.
tea.
We had to
What's in
move
your
Tuesday's tea over
brew?
to Zoom.
Tuesday's
The link is in the
tea.
bio. If you
Tuesday's
really wanted to join us for
tea.
today's
Tuesday's
Tuesday's tea, head on
tea.
over to Zoom. The link is now in the
Welcome to the
bio.
sanctuary.
Zoom.
Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea.
Hey everybody, we had to move Tuesday's tea over to Zoom. We were having a lot of technical difficulties here on Instagram, and we really wanted to be able to pull Akira's presentation off the right way, and so we headed on over to Zoom. If you really wanted to join us for this week's episode of Tuesday's Tea, the link is in the bio. The link is in the bio. Everybody, hello. Tuesday's Tea is still happening, everybody. We had to move Tuesday's Tea over to Zoom. The link is in the bio. If you plan on joining us today, Instagram is giving us a lot of technical difficulties.
What's in your
They were able
brew?
to present
Tuesday's
tea.
tea. What's in your brew? Tuesday's 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 tea. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary.
You're not on yet. Hey, Grace.
Tuesday's tea.
Hello, everybody. We had to move Tuesday's tea over to Zoom. Instagram was giving us a lot of technical difficulties. If you plan on joining us for today's episode of Tuesday's tea, head on over to Zoom. The link is in the bio. We want to make sure we're able to push out Akira's hard work and everything that she prepared for today's Tuesday's tea. So if you really plan on joining us for Tuesday's tea, I encourage you guys to come on over. We are officially live. Come on over to Tuesday's tea. We are officially live, y'all.
Tuesday's tea. What's in your
All right, I'm gonna let this go one more time, and that's it.
Come on over to the sanctuary, y'all. Tuesday's tea is live.
One more time. See if we can get
Tuesday's tea is live. The link is in the bio for Zoom.
Tuesday's
tea over
What's
to
in
Zoom.
your brew?
Tell a friend to tell a friend that Honey Spice
What's in
is
your
live.
brew?
Come on over, everybody. Link is in the bio. Link is in the
What's in
bio.
your
Tell a
brew?
friend.
Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary.
Can you see my
Welcome
screen?
to the sanctuary.
You need me to meet you?
Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea.
Sorry, everybody. Let me get
Tuesday's tea.
I got you, baby. You're gonna also you can monitor the chat too. I guess if anybody has any questions as we go through it. I'll have to put here. I'll let you make your co-host. It'll probably be harder for us to get people on this side, but we will at least have a recording. So
tea. What's in your brew? Tuesday's 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 tea. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's tea. Tuesday's
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop this now. All right. Hey everybody. Thank you guys for jumping back on and joining me for today's Tuesday's tea. Sorry, unfortunately, we're trying to get this going a little bit earlier. We were having some technical difficulties, but we are going to get started now. My name is Akila Assad Holland L. I am the other half of Holland Spices, the Herbal Sanctuary. And today is Tuesday's Tea episode number 18. Today we're going to be talking about internet security, specifically cybersecurity for the most part. Cybersecurity, specifically internet security, meaning that within like the interwebs that we travel, mostly like social media and websites and stuff like that. Like I said, my name is Akila Assad Holland L. I run the Holland Spices the Herbal Sanctuary with my wife, Rue Munira Holland. My day job, I'm an IT director for a bank. I've been doing IT for about 20 plus years. And probably maybe over the last 10 years or so, been more security conscious or focused on security. You can find me at Akila_Assad_Holland L, or obviously at Holland Spices and More. And welcome today, and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about internet security for everyone. I just put a question mark because it's for everybody, anybody who uses the internet for the most part. We're going to talk today. So today, basically, we're going to probably keep it a little simple today. I would like to do this again, maybe with a different part or something like that, maybe multiple part series to kind of go deeper into maybe certain aspects of IT. So if you guys have any feedback on that and what that would be based off of, things that you may be interested in or you want to know more about, definitely feel free to ask questions or, send us a few messages, direct messages on Instagram, and we'll provide some content, create some presentation for you guys just to get you guys trained up. Like I said, this is my day job. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I consider myself pretty knowledgeable in some of these areas that we're going to be talking about. Internet security for everyone. Protecting yourself in the cyber streets is what we're calling it. Protecting yourself in the cyber streets. Cyber is basically that of or related to computers and network or something like that, right? And obviously we're talking about security or protecting yourself while you're using computers or computer networks is essentially what cybersecurity is. Normally when you're dealing with internet security, like in business or anything like that, for the most part, you're basically identifying security holes, right? You'll manage the risk by maybe implementing some sort of compensating controls or policies, procedures, and processes, basically to kind of circumvent a lot of that risk. And you'll normally like provide some sort of training and things like that for future issues. So basically what we're doing today is we're going to try to provide some training to help circumvent or to help mitigate some of the risk while you are out on, well, in or within these cyber streets. The way I see it is basically the same way you protect yourself when you're dealing like, you know, in the spiritual world and stuff like that. I mean, you're going to protect yourself the same way, you know, same way you would protect your physical self as well. So for us to, we're going to jump in first by talking about a specific scenario, right? A lot of times when we're talking about things that we may not be as familiar with, scenario tends to be a little bit easier to kind of get familiar with some of the terms and, you know, things that we're trying to talk about. So social media, we're going to be talking about a social media account being hacked. Right, so here's the scenario, and most of you are probably aware of this actually happening. Instagram account of Rue Munira Holland was hacked. The hacker compromised her email. They were able to gain access to her Instagram account. A strong password wasn't utilized. Two-factor authentication was not enabled. And the hacker then used social engineering to essentially defraud her followers. For anybody who was aware or who was actually targeted as a part of that attack. So basically about a month and a half ago, me and Rue, I remember we were like driving around, I think it was like on a Friday night or something like that. I remember her saying, I can't get into my account, what just happened? So essentially what we were able to do is we realized right away that her account was essentially compromised. And this was probably about maybe a week or so before her birthday, maybe a week and a half or so before her birthday. We realized right away that her account was compromised because we basically weren't able to get in. She received a message that she was essentially locked out or signed out. I immediately started like looking through her emails and things like that. I'm like, well, did you receive any notifications? Did you receive any alerts? Or so typically you would receive alerts or notifications when someone's trying to access your account or anything like that. She said, no, I don't recall receiving anything. We started looking through her email. We immediately found out that there were other people that were logged into her email. And we basically confirmed at that point, okay, you were definitely hacked. Not to mention, probably about maybe an hour or so after that, I don't even think it was that long, she received a few messages from people basically stating that they had received a message from her stating that she needed some money to pay a phone bill or something like that. Right. And so basically that hacker was able to gain access to her account. Like I said here, use social engineering to defraud her followers. Now, some of these terms I'm talking about, right? So, and I said from the beginning, treat cybersecurity like your physical home security, essentially is what I'm saying, right? You're going to secure and you're going to lock your doors, right? How do you secure and you lock your doors? Right, so you secure and lock your doors in the cyber world by using strong passwords, utilizing something like multi or two-factor authentication, and obviously securing all of your social media, email, e-commerce websites, your bank accounts, everything, right? You're essentially going to make sure that all of those things are secure. When we talk about strong passwords, right? What is a strong password? A strong password to me, and normally what we implement, and like I said, I work for a financial institution. Strong passwords are what, at least 16 characters, 12 characters can be acceptable. Most people probably have a very simple password. It could probably be, I mean, I don't think you understand how many times we've seen like password 123 and all these other simple passwords, right? It shouldn't be any part of your name. It should not be anybody that you basically know in that way, right? It shouldn't be common words, phrases. You shouldn't use any part of your personal, like, or non-public information or personally identifiable information, which we call NPI or PII. So meaning you shouldn't be using any part of your social security, any part of your birthday, like all of these things are just no-nos, right? It should contain a mixture of characters. Like lowercase, uppercase, special characters. It should be unique, right? So a lot of times what I hear is just like, oh, well, I use this password everywhere. Well, every time you reuse a password, it makes it less secure. I'll just put it to you like that. I mean, and the reason why it's less secure at that point is because, well, now you've taken this password, which was only stored in this one area, and now you're basically spreading this password in multiple different areas, which you now have to try to protect, right? And we'll get into that in a little bit. So when you create these strong passwords, what do you want to do with these strong passwords? Where are you storing your passwords? You want to use a password manager, right? What is the point, right, of basically having a strong password if you're basically just going to write it down on a piece of paper, like store it on a notepad or a Word document or something like that, right? A note on your phone. Like, I've seen passwords just about everywhere. You shouldn't be writing them down. You shouldn't be sharing them with anyone or anything like that. I mean, it's essentially like basically leaving your key hanging on one of those hooks, basically, but the hook is located outside of your house, right? I mean, you're basically leaving the key for the person to get in, right? So what's the point? If you're going to utilize strong passwords, utilize a password manager, right? It's going to allow you to, if your concern is, hey, I can only remember one password, use a password manager, right? Because a password manager, you use one password to get into your password manager, and all of your other passwords are behind that. But guess what? All of those passwords are unique. And with a lot of these password managers, they have hooks into applications, into web pages, into like your phone apps and things like that, to where if you have this password manager installed on your desktop or on your phone, when you go or browse to a web page, it can automatically fill in your username and password for you, meaning you don't have to remember that password. But at least it will be unique, and at least it will be protected from, from any type of compromise, essentially. Are you using the same password for all accounts? Obviously, we just touched on that. You don't. That's a definite no-no. Are you using multi or two-factor authentication? People say, what is multi or two-factor authentication? Well, we say it's something you know, something you have, and something you are, right? Two-factor will utilize any one of those two factors. Something you know, something you have, something you are, right? So if it's a two-factor authentication, it may use, something you know and something you have. Let's get into what something you know, have, and are, right? Something you know would be like a password or a PIN, maybe security questions, something that you actually have knowledge of. Something you have could be, it's normally like your cell phone for the most part, right? And basically what that is it's like a mobile authenticator app or something like that installed on your phone, where it's something you have physically in your hand, in your possession, right? It's something that you have. And the types of authentication methods that you can use for that type of device is, it could be like a Google Authenticator, or it could be Duo, or it could be Microsoft Authenticator, right? And then within those individual applications, whether it's a Google, a Microsoft, or a Duo Authenticator app, there's multiple ways in which you can authenticate yourself, right? And so they can do something like something you have that can be what they call OTP passwords. It's like a one-time PIN or one-time passcode, right? Where essentially you use it for that one time. It's normally for like offline usage, right? For the most part. Time-based or TOTP passwords, time-based one-time passwords, where essentially if you open up an authenticator app and you've added the account, what will happen is when you're prompted to log into your account, what you'll see is a code, but next to the code, you'll see something like a clock, or basically counting down the time. That is a time-based code. Another thing, something you have is SMS, which is, and I will tell you guys this, if SMS is the only form of two-factor, that's not secure, and that's not the method you should be choosing. You should be doing a mobile authenticator app or something like that. Something you are. What is something you are? I am me, right? But no, it's really biometric for the most part, right? So fingerprint, iris scanning. So on mobile, on iPhones, it's like a Touch ID, Face ID, and I believe Android also has some form of biometric functionality on their phone as well. Most of the public facing type of cloud services, all the social media sites and things like that, they offer two-factor authentication. The multi-factor authentication you'll normally see in corporations and things like that, like that's stuff that I essentially would see, when I'm out there working and stuff. Or things, the type of solution that we would probably implement would be like a multifactorial biometric or something like that. So after you've had your strong password and you have configured your account for multi-factor, and you figured out what you would like to use for your two factors, right? The something you know and something you have. Now what you want to do is you want to go and you want to secure all your social media pages, right? And when I say all your social media pages, just about all of the social media pages. And I made sure that I checked, I'm not really a social media person. So I basically just did a quick search just to make sure, hey, do these applications or whatever support two-factor authentication? Hopefully you're already doing it, but like I said, just about all of them. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, they all support it. So if you don't have it on today, please make sure you go and you take care of that. Same thing for email, Gmail and Yahoo. They also support it. The e-commerce websites like Shopify, Square, Big Cartel, Big Commerce, GoDaddy, they all support it, right? Two-factor authentication. If you don't have it on there, if you don't have it now, make sure you go do it. Make sure you go and implement that now. And if for whatever reason, and don't forget your bank accounts too, right? Any online banking portals, any online type of account. And as far as I'm concerned, if that vendor or that cloud service does not offer that type of security, it's the type of security that I need, then they're not for me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we say that about a lot of things, but honestly, when it comes to you protecting your personal and private information, you can't really be too secure as far as I'm concerned. Password managers. I touched on password managers. I want to give you a couple of password managers that I know that would actually work if you're not currently using them. So Google has a it's like a free password manager. Essentially, if you have a Google account, you have a password manager. The one thing I like about Google, and I think a lot of the other password managers do the same. I know LastPass does, and probably one the other two that we'll talk about in a second. They also do something like a password checkup, right? Where they'll essentially look at your passwords, right? You basically put all your passwords in there and they'll say, okay, well, you're reusing this password, right? And so they'll basically force you to go change your password or help you change your password so you can use a unique password. They'll also check to see if any of your passwords have been compromised, meaning are any of the passwords that you have stored within this manager, has the website been breached, right? So if you had a capital one, right, a capital one password within your password manager, has there been a security breach or, has there been a security or data breach related to Capital One where the passwords were compromised, right? And so that's essentially what that security checkup or, basically would do for you. They'll also see if it's any appearance on the dark web or whatever, right? Just on those like password, like cracking sites or whatever. So it's beneficial to use that type of password manager. You know why? Because you don't know. You're not going to know all the different places of where, these security breaches happen. You know what I mean? A lot of times we're not even reading the emails, but we'll get into that in a second. Password managers. One more thing about the password managers. Let me let you know which ones besides Google. LastPass. So LastPass is a good one. That is it's free for the most part, as long as you have it on one device. So one device meaning like either your desktop or your mobile phone. Now, if you're going to have a choice, you would use your mobile phone, right? Because unless you plan on carrying your desktop around, which I don't think you are, you know what I'm saying? You won't have access to your password if you put it on your desktop. So basically, just install it on your phone, save all your passwords on there, and you'll be good to go, right? If you need to access one on your desktop, you can just look at your phone. Now, there's other options if you want to pay, right? One Password is another one. I think it was $2.99 a month, and for that you get unlimited passwords for unlimited devices. And then Dashlane, it was up to 50 passwords was free on one device, and if you wanted to do like multiple devices and multiple passwords, I think it was about $2.99 or $3.99. LastPass is probably the best bet, or like I said, Google does most of this stuff for free. It's just literally a part of your account. So if you have a Gmail account, store them in your Google. The reason why I say don't use Google is because it's like the chicken and the egg, right? But in any case, what will happen is if you get locked out of your Gmail account, then or your Google account, how the heck are you going to access your passwords? You should probably keep it separate from that service. So just it's up, do what you want. But like I said, I think, well, it makes a lot of sense for you to use a password manager or something like that if you're going to, store your passwords and absolutely have your account all over the place. Strong password examples. Let's get into strong password examples and how you would create the strong password. Remember, I was saying that a strong password is at least 16 characters. I said 12 is acceptable, but I'm going to show you how to create strong passwords that are at least 16 characters, like really easily. I do this all the time with a mixture of characters. Basically, what they say, one of the easiest things to do is start with a passphrase, right? And so let's say passphrase like this. I love you, Nina, and that's urgent like a motherfucker. From my favorite movie, Love Jones, right? That's basically what this says. The password would essentially be, you can basically take the first letter from each word, right? If you see what I did here, I took basically the first letter from each word, right? I think for MFer, I think I actually used MF, right? And then from my favorite movie, Love Jones, 97. So you see, I basically have every word there, and I should remember it because I remember that passphrase. It's like using your favorite lyric from a rap song or something like that. Cash Money Records, taking over for the 99 and the 2000 by Juvenile, right? Something as simple as that, I was able to turn that into this really nice secure password. This top password is 19 characters. This bottom one is 16 characters. It doesn't have to be hard for you to create these passwords, but understand that they should be unique. Within these password managers, they normally have password generators, so you don't even have to do anything like this. But maybe the passphrase password is the one password that you create that you use to get into your password manager. So I figured I would share these examples. You guys have any questions? I mean, since we're on Zoom, I can actually take some questions if you guys had any questions. If not, we'll keep it moving.
Yes, Zen had a question. I'll read it for you, honey, if you'd like.
Sure.
The question is, she said, you said that the thumbprint passcode for Apple is best to use versus the passcode, and is it safe?
As in biometric? So you're talking about thumbprint, like using the actual biometric on your phone. Okay, so what I will tell you is this. I won't go deep into it and with like the protocols and everything like that. I really could, but I won't do that. I'll keep it simple. Real simple. When you're using any type of like fingerprint reader or anything like that, honestly, none of that information ever leaves your device. So if you're worried about whether or not it's being shared outside of your phone or anything like that, it's actually not leaving your phone. The way the protocols work, the fingerprint and all that information actually stays local to the device. And essentially it used something called like cryptography or whatever. It's like certificate-based signing and everything like that to essentially establish a secure channel or secure path to basically create that authentication. It gets really deep, but essentially it's safe. It is actually safe. Don't lose your phone, right? So kind of is what it is. But most of these applications that I was talking about, I think they only do 2-factor anyway. So I think you only can use a mobile authenticator. So hope that answers your question. Any more questions? If not, I'll keep going. And how's it going so far? Is it making sense so far?
Yes, it's making a lot of sense, honey. You're doing a very great job.
Okay. We're gonna keep going. Now that we talked about passwords. Okay. We were talking about, it's just like your home security, right? Set up monitoring and surveillance. How do we do something like that? You want to monitor your email. Most of your accounts are tied to your email, right? So you want to monitor your email like you do your bank account, which is what I say, right? You want to check the security activity. You want to check logged in devices. And so normally how you do this is in most of your accounts, if you go to the settings of your accounts, and if you're unsure how to do any of this, just send me a message. I can walk you through. In most accounts, if you go to the settings in the account, depending on which account it is, and you go to security, there's normally something there that can show you like security activity, like who's currently logged in. You can see this when you go to Instagram. You can see this when you go to like your Gmail. You can see it when you go to Facebook. If you go to security, it may say security and privacy or something like that. It's normally around security. You will be able to see this types of activity. This is how we were able to determine in the scenario that we discussed earlier that Rue's account was essentially email account was actually compromised, and that we saw other devices logged in that were not ours, like devices from Virginia and other places. I'm just like, well, where the heck did you come from? You want to configure your notifications and alerts to get real-time information regarding your account, such as when an unknown device attempts to log into your account, when changes are made to your account, right? Not knowing this or having access to this information basically puts you at a extreme disadvantage when it comes to trying to get access to your account or regain access to your account, right? If someone's trying to compromise or attack you. Because normally, like Instagram will do this, Facebook will do this, Gmail will do this. They'll tell you if, it's an unknown device attempting to log into your account. They'll literally send you a message. It can be in the form of an email, a text, my Capital One bank or my bank and all of my other cards. If something were to happen within my account, I receive a text message for the most part, right? It's just like, did you do this? And I'm just like, yes, I actually did make this purchase, or no, I have no idea what this is. Once again, just like I said about if your bank vendor, if your email provider, if your e-commerce website does not offer any of these things that I'm talking about, specifically some form of two-factor authentication and a way for you to be able to monitor, receive alerts, notifications and alerts on your email, on your accounts, you need to change your, I'll just say provider as a global term. You need to change your provider because they're actually not, they don't really have your personal interests at heart. I'll put it to you like that. Give everything the side eye. Right? I mean, right? So you want to treat everything, right? Treat cybersecurity like physical security, and you want to give everything the side eye, right? You shouldn't just be willfully trusting everything that you see and that you do, specifically when it comes to things on the internet. What is social engineering? So we referenced social engineering earlier. We said the hacker utilized social engineering or used social engineering to basically defraud Rue's followers, right? Where they basically attempted to say, hey, you know what, I need some money for my cell phone bill or whatever. Can you help me out? So what is social engineering? Social engineering is an attack intended to gain unauthorized access, data, money by manipulating people instead of using technology and exploits. Typically when we think of a hacker, right, or we've seen this on TV or movies or whatever, right, we basically see this person sitting in front of the computer typing really fast, typing like 100 lines of code per minute, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, this person is hacking in, but they're doing a brute force type of attack, right? That type of attack does use technology exploits, right? They're essentially trying to crack into to gain access, but they're using technology to actually to gain access, right? Social engineering is not like that. It's like a con artist, right? Social engineering scammers, they're the modern day con artists, as far as I'm concerned. They act once they gain the person's trust. So they're basically, they will basically do a bit of a reconnaissance mission, right? They're basically, they're just like, okay, well, who is this person? They want to learn their target, right? And all of this, they're just like, who is this person? How can I gain access to, whatever it is that they have? I need to get to know them. They need to trust me. And then as soon as that happens, that's when they attack. That's what social engineering is, right? It's essentially the modern day con artists, or con artists, basically, that it's happening over the internet. But social engineering doesn't have to happen over the internet. Social engineering can happen. Everybody's familiar with like tailgating, or somebody essentially like walking behind you, right? And just basically allowing themselves entrance based off of your access, basically walking right behind you. You know how when you're at work or whatever, it's some jobs you have a badge or whatever, and maybe somebody will walk right behind you, you hold the door open. That's a form of social engineering, because that person behind you may not have a badge at all. And they're gaining access into this building, this physical building, using just like, hey, basically using your morality essentially, right? Where, oh, I have to hold the door for the person behind me, right? It's like using human concepts or human feeling and emotion essentially, right? Basically feeding off of that to manipulate the person, basically to get what it is that they want. Be aware of social engineering scams. You want to understand the different social engineering tactics. There's phishing, vishing, smishing. That stuff sounds crazy. I know, right? Phishing is essentially like email. Vishing is voice. So it's voice phishing via telephone, right? Is essentially what it is. And smishing obviously is dealing with text messages. But basically in all of these types of social engineering attacks, they'll claim to be from like a legitimate source, right? Like a bank or e-commerce site or something like that. They'll basically it's used to get personal information or any type of financial information for the most part. It's normally done in like a bulk type of attack, like multiple emails, multiple texts to multiple people. It may involve, like, if it's an email, like asking you to click on a link to a malicious site or downloading attachments. Spear phishing is somewhat like that, except it literally focuses on one person. And it's normally focusing on one person with like a corporation or something like that. It's normally personalized in that way, where it's just like, okay, I want to target this person for this access that they have. A lot of times you'll see this in organizations with people who are high ranking for the most part. So you'll see like your C-level executive, your CIO, your CTO, your CISOs, or CSOs, your COOs, all of those. Like they'll target people at that level, maybe director level in specific organizations to get their level of access. But if you're doing it right, those people wouldn't even have that level of access. They would just be regular users if you're doing it right. Baiting. Baiting is similar to phishing, but with baiting, they basically impersonate like different brands that you would essentially be familiar with, right? And so that baiting attack, they'll basically trick the recipient into like basically doing a similar action for like false promises, rewards. Like, so do you remember, what was it, the clearinghouse or whatever? I think it was the automated clearinghouse or whatever. It used to be by mail. Well, what if you received an email now basically saying, hey, you won the lottery, if you won the clearinghouse and you won $1 million, if you click this link? That's more than likely a baiting type of attack, right? Pretexting, another type of social engineering attack. With pretexting, that's just like what I was speaking about. They're more like the con artists as far as I'm concerned, because with pretexting, it's like they are trying to learn everything about you. They may not even attack right away. They'll get to know everything about you, get all of the trust and confidence in the world from you. You'll think that they're like your friend essentially. And then all of a sudden they'll just attack. But it's pretexting. Know how to recognize the red flags in email. Email is like probably the most popular attack vector for these types of attacks, honestly, social engineering types of attacks. Now, obviously, they're doing it over social media and all of this, but it's normally some form of messaging platform or whatever that they do it. I don't think we see them on phones that much. There are still some attacks that happen via phones, like IRS. I know IRS, they had one about the IRS before. I think it was like over the past few years, they've been doing it. They obviously have like those phone scams where they target like some of the elderly and all of that. It's all forms of social engineering. Know how to recognize red flags in email. What you want to do in email, you want to be able to examine the different parts of the email prior to replying, forwarding, clicking any links, or opening any attachments. We're going to basically go over a few email examples, and then I think we'll probably be getting out of here very soon. Like I said, I wanted to keep this fairly short, but I also wanted to maybe use this as an introduction of sorts into more content like this that you guys may find valuable. So when we get into some of these email examples, we're going to look for, so basically what you want to do when you're looking at these emails, and we'll look at examples so I can kind of show you like exactly what we're talking about. But you want to look at all the different parts of the email. You want to look at the from field. You want to look at the to field. You want to look if there's any hyperlinks, attachments, right? You want to look at the date, subject, content or like the content or body of the message. All of these parts of the message could be clues into some sort of social engineering attack or scam. Example one, right? And so I just found some examples on the internet. They have these things published everywhere. So I figured if I show you, you might be able to identify or see. All right, so real quick, does anybody, how familiar are you guys with these concepts so far in terms of being able to know, I guess, identify a suspicious email?
I wasn't familiar with it at all, not too much until you and I started dating. But Coach Zen said that she would love more content like this, and for you to produce more content around these types of things. So Zen is unable to mute herself.
Oh, okay. No worries. No
That's
worries.
the only
Thank you,
reason why
Zen.
you don't hear her talking. Grace says that she is pretty aware about the work emails and all of that good stuff.
Good. So social engineering mail examples for if you're not aware, and like I said, because we're recording this, this can be some really good content for people who are not aware. If you've worked in like a corporate type of job or corporate atmosphere, you're more than likely familiar with some of these. So the from field. So for the from field, you want to basically look and you want to say, basically it's just like, okay, why do I recognize this sender? Do I know this person that's sending this to me? Is this person like inside or outside of my organization? If you're, obviously at work, is it a friend or family member? Like, am I expecting this email? Is the email from a suspicious domain? A suspicious domain could be like Microsoft-support-help.com. It doesn't exist. It's not even a thing. You can do yourself a favor by obviously checking to make sure that, that domain is actually valid. Honestly, you can just go in and check and type it in. Most of these mail domains that you see on the back of these emails are actual domains that you can just browse to. Put www. in front of it, and then, instructure.net. Is it a thing? It probably is not. But check for any misspellings in the name or the domain name as well. So with this one here, we have the from field. It says webmaster log on at instructure.net. And then for the to field, it's like, do I know the recipient in the to field? Does this appear like a mass mailing? A lot of times when you see like mass mailings, you'll see like maybe just one name in the BCC field, but they've made it harder because a lot of these mass mailing applications like MailChimp and all of that, they now place it in the to field. So you don't even really know if it's a mass mailing or not from the to field. Mostly it's just like, if it looks like, sometimes you'll see like multiple people that you don't know in there, and right from the bat, like, okay, that's definitely it's not a real email, or it's not anything that that I was expecting, so to speak. You want to see if there's any hyperlinks or whatever, right? Mainly one of the things you want to do is you want to hover over the hyperlink. So we'll get into an example there. So for this one in front of us, it's like, it's from webmaster log on, and it says log on at instructure.net. Now this whole thing just looks wrong to me. Postmaster at bloomu.edu. Okay, there might not be anything with postmaster at bloomu.edu. A lot of those, when you go to colleges, a lot of those messages, like those bulk messages and emails, they come from something that may say postmaster. So that seems okay. Webmaster, but do I know what webmaster is? I don't know, but let's look at this. It says attention. All right, well, a lot of times when it's trying to grab your attention or anything like that, it's normally a scam unless it's coming from somebody you know. We have been notified that a lot of fraudulent mails have been a lot of fraudulent mails have been sent to our servers. First of all, it says mails. So that right off the bat is definitely wrong, because it should say email. When you're looking in the content or body, you want to look for any type of misspellings or anything that doesn't seem to make any sense. For security reasons, we are carrying out a maintenance which will require your furnishing us with the following details. It has a login username and password. So first of all, you would never put a login username or password. No one's ever going to ask you for your login username or password via email or anything like that. You might not be able to, and then it says reply to webmail _account login at instructure.net. Well, wait a minute. it came from logon@instructure.net, but it wants me to reply to webmail_account login at instructure.net. So a lot of times if the reply to or anything like that is different, that could signify that, hey, this may be some sort of suspicious email. So that's something that we could possibly take a look at. Any grammar or spelling mistakes, best regards, webmaster. So there were a few things in here that kind of stuck out. Let's look at another one. Example 2. These are the good ones because I actually see these. I've seen this before. Your account could be compromised. That really gets you right there, right? And it's from somewhere where you think is legit. It says LinkedIn alerts. Well, one, do you have alerts? Do you have alerts configured? 2, is that LinkedIn alerts email? And I don't have a hover or anything like that because it's a copy and pasted picture. Is that when I hover over that email, is that email from LinkedIn? Is it a valid LinkedIn domain? You can also, instead of clicking on here, you can actually just go log into your LinkedIn account. A lot of times, if I don't know if that email is legit, I'll just go log into the webpage myself and just make sure everything's okay. Because what may happen is that if this is in fact, more than likely what will happen, if this is a compromised email, that link that says update login details will lead you to a compromised website. It could lead you to a website that looks exactly like LinkedIn. It could look exactly like a LinkedIn login page. But as soon as you put your username and password into that page, that's when they're taking your username and password information. So you have to be very mindful and careful when you receive these types of emails, specifically those that are asking you to do something with your username and password or anything like that. Example 3, UPS package. I've actually received this one before, actually at work mostly, because they do these phishing tests where they basically, they like to make sure that we're on point and we know what we're doing. I've never actually been caught in it, so, but they do these phishing tests. This one is from UPS. It's like you're expecting a delivery. Are you expecting delivery? I don't know. This says track@ups.com. That may actually be correct. I have no idea. The status update for tracking, that also looks like a valid UPS tracking number. But are you configured for any type of alerting for this package? May not be. And if you are, is this link down here valid? So this link says that if you click on this, that you're going to be able to download basically, I think probably the shipping label or whatever, right? But if you hover over the link, it says documents-receive.com. So you want to make sure that you're hovering over any hyperlinks, like I said, to make sure it's not different. It's not a different link or anything like that, or leading to, a suspicious website. When you're looking at the date, other forms, if you're looking at the date, right? Did the email arrive at an unusual time, right? Like overnight or some weird time during the day. Basically, it's normally something that's not expected. And you can normally fill this, right? So in the subject, does the subject indicate like a reply to an email that you've never sent? Like, does it say something like RE your car insurance? And it's not even from anybody that has anything to do with your car insurance or anything like that. Check for any misspellings, always, and grammar. For attachments, once again, are you expecting this attachment? Who sent this attachment? You want to make sure the only save file that there is a text file. So unless it says a .txt file, you don't want to open it. But some of those malicious file types, they could be like zip files, .exe, .bat, .ps1 or whatever. Basically, they're a bunch of scripting files. So as soon as you click on it, even a zip, they have zip files that if you click on a zip file, it will run a program on your computer. So they have self-extracting zips that will actually do stuff to your computer. You want to make sure that basically a self-extracting zip, when you click on it, it will basically start saving places on your computer, and now your thing is compromised. So zip is not even, unless you know where it's coming from, it's not anything that you can basically just trust. So content in the content or body, you want to basically, so are you being asked to click on a link or open an attachment to avoid like any sort of negative action or to gain some sort of significant value, right? Like we talked on it earlier about if you received an email from like the automated clearinghouse that you won like millions of dollars or something like that. You're not clicking on that link. They're more than likely not contacting you via email. That's just crazy. I don't even know if they still exist. But once again, just like with all the other areas of the email, right? You want to make sure there's no grammar or spelling errors, because that normally stands out the most at these emails. And finally, like, what is your intuition telling you? Honestly, a lot of times when this stuff happens, your intuition is screaming at you before you even make this decision. So let's review real quick, just to do a quick little recap. What we talked about today, and like I said, I'm keeping this one short. We want to treat cybersecurity like physical security. We want to secure and lock our doors. You want to set up monitors and surveillance. You want to give everything the side eye, and make sure that you're aware of these social engineering scams.
Mrs. Holland, we have some questions.
Good. I was just going to the very good. What do we have?
Okay, the first question is, I checked the log and my activity on my IG.
Mhm.
If there is a login that I don't recognize, should I select it and then log out, hypothetically speaking?
Yes, I would. I would actually log out of all of them and then just log in again, just to kind of make sure, honestly.
Okay.
And I would pay attention to, it may say like when it was logged in, where the login came from. You know what I mean? If you don't recognize it in any way, log out of it. And if you feel uncomfortable, log out of everything. I would say probably before you do that, just make sure that you might want to probably do two-factor before you log out of it, just in case it gets compromised on the way out.
Okay. Next question. Would you advise us not to put our business contact info on our social media pages? Is it best to only utilize the website for contact instead?
Your business information, like on IG or something like that, is that what we're
Yes.
talking about? I'll put it to you like this. I mean, so I would only put, and so for me, I would probably have more of a public facing email account, right? So we have like an info at Holland Spices account. I would put more of the public facing information out there, not the information that is private to you. Like, you're not going to put like your cell phone on there, right? Like, maybe you have a Google number that masks your cell phone number or something like that, some other type of number that basically masks your actual number. But I probably wouldn't put the personal information out there, right? That's where you kind of want to be more careful, right? And you also don't want people just targeting you and spamming your email, right? You just have that catch-all mailbox, like an info or something like that, that you look at from time to time. So they're just not, they don't go to nowhere, but you know what I mean? At least it's not out for the masses.
Okay, 2 more questions.
Hopefully that answered the question. I'm sorry if it did not.
She said, that's perfect. She said, perfect. That's what I have, is an email devoted to public and Google voice number on my business phone.
Yep.
Next question is there anything that Mrs. Holland will recommend for my virtual assistants clients, because I have their passwords, because I do email and inbox management scheduling? She says, I have Norton and I only utilize my direct internet source or phone data, not public sources. Is there anything to add as triple security?
And you manage everyone's emails and all of that. I mean, I would just say basically use a password manager. So that was one of the things that I was talking about before. If you're managing all of those passwords, I would definitely use a password manager for all of those. Some of the password managers, I mean, you can do it for free. It doesn't have to be. I would probably just, and you can put it on your phone or something like that. Now, do you share those passwords with them? Are you the only one that accesses the emails? Is it like a delegated type of access or something like that?
I will let you know when she responds.
Okay. Sorry, let me guess I can look at these. Okay. I think what we can do is like, so if there's any additional content that you'd like to see, like I said, I kept this one pretty short. There's so much more that I can go into in the area of internet security. We kind of just focused on a specific scenario. That one being the fact that Rue's account that's kind of where the class came from anyway, when Rue's account was hacked. And I said, you know what, I need to get out and probably provide some training or whatever based off of some things that I'm familiar with and know, and wanted to share that with everyone. So I hope that this content actually was very helpful and useful. If there's any questions or anything like that, obviously, please feel free to send them on Instagram. You can send them via, what is it, at Holland Spices and More. Or you can send it to at Akila_Assad_Holland_L. Although I will caution you, I do not manage my account. Rue does, so you might want to just send them to Holland Spices and More because I don't really log in that often.
Honey, she says that they use the passwords in herself, so just the two-party source. And she said that she also would like to know all of the depth of it. She said that's her Scorpio stellium speaking, so she wants to know the roots of it.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, well, we'll definitely I think we'll definitely get into a little more on some of these topics. If there's specific things that you are interested in learning around like IT types of things, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I definitely want to make sure, I definitely want to help people as we're out here so that we're protecting ourselves. Ruth speaks a lot on spiritual, fitness and things like that. And I deal mostly on the line of IT. I look at the virtual world just like the spiritual world. There's a whole lot of attacks and things like that that you don't see. You don't see coming. It's just a whole lot of things out there that you don't see. Right. And the other thing is, people don't tend to look at that, internet or those accounts. Like I look at those. So look at it like this. Every time you create an account, right, in the virtual world, it's like you essentially creating another version of yourself in a totally different space that you now have to protect. Right. So now it's like, oh, I was this physical person in this one home, but now there's multiple versions of me with my information just floating out there at all of these different homes. So now you have to basically protect each of those domains, right? Each of those individual domains and all of your information, personal private information that might be stored there. So you definitely you got to make sure you're aware. You got to make sure you're protecting yourself out here. Definitely making sure you're securing yourself, protecting yourself in these cyber streets. Once again, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us for Tuesday's Tea. This episode of Tuesday's Tea, episode 8. Thank you guys for sticking with me. You guys have a good night. Thank you so much.
Very good, baby. Very good.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to go out with a little, we got to go with the Tuesday's Tea.
Tuesday's Tea. What's in your brew? 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 Tuesday's Tea. Tuesday's Tea. Tuesday's Tea. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary. Welcome to the sanctuary.